When I was in boot camp, it was our responsibility to keep our foot lockers locked. If we ever left the lock open or off of the foot locker, we got in trouble, and we found ourselves doing laps or push-ups or sit-ups. The reason was because, as it was explained, a lock is not designed to keep a thief out. If a thief wants what's in your foot locker, that tiny little lock is not going to keep him out. A lock is designed to keep an honest man honest. And we have a responsibility to our shipmates, to our honest shipmates, to keep them honest. There's a lot of wisdom in that because I think we all know that under the right conditions and given the right motivations, people can make all sorts of choices that they would not otherwise make. Under the right conditions and with the right motivations, an honest man can steal. A truthful man can lie. A faithful person can become unfaithful. Under the right conditions and with the proper motivations, a gracious, generous, and hospitable woman can become petty and rude, like Martha. In Martha's defense, Jesus never traveled alone. So when Jesus came to their home, it wasn't just him. Jesus came with an entourage. He had his 12 disciples. He had 12 apostles and all kinds of disciples following him. There were likely some scribes and Pharisees there too, because they were always in the background just waiting to catch him doing something wrong. There was a lot of people in their tiny little house. I had the privilege of visiting Capernaum when I was in the Holy Land, and I saw one of those homes. It's not like what we have today. It's largely just one room where everything happened. So you have all of these people filling this house. Water has to be provided. Food has to be provided. Shelter has to be provided. All of these things have to happen, and that falls on Mary and Martha to do for all of these people. And there's always the wonder if there is enough space, enough food, and enough water. On top of that, Jesus is not just any visitor. Jesus is the most popular preacher and prophet in the land of Israel. Everybody knows him. Everybody hears about him. You know, in our day, we have a lot of distractions. We have a lot of people who are trying to keep up with the Kardashians and all kinds of housewives. And it is a nice distraction sometimes. There was nothing like that then. So the stories of Jesus would get circulated, told, and retold over and over and over again. Jesus was the most popular person in Israel in his time. And so when he comes into the house, and Martha welcomes him, and Martha is serving him and waiting on him, and then she snaps. In the midst of the chaos, in the midst of all the work that has to be done, in the midst of everything going on, Mary just loses it. And she complains about her sister to Jesus. It would be kind of like if the Pope came to visit us and I started to complain about the staff. Of course, they would have a lot more to complain about than I would. I promise you, you are well served by the staff here. But it would just be rude. It would be an incredibly rude thing to ask the Pope to come and get involved with inner conflicts. It's just not done. And so Martha, who is a very hospitable, very good, very generous, very holy woman, suddenly just loses it. Because with the right conditions and with the right motivations, people can make all kinds of decisions contrary to their true character. Mary would have been wrapped up in the same chaos. Mary would have been wrapped up in the same concerns and fears and anxieties that Martha was. But Mary knew in our home is the greatest prophet that Israel has ever seen. I will sit at his feet, and his words will calm me. Jesus is like a lock. It's like a lock that keeps us from making bad decisions under any conditions and any motivations. Jesus is that lock that keeps us honorable and holy and truthful and righteous. Jesus is the lock that keeps us from making bad decisions. We cannot control all of the conditions and motivations that life throws at us. We can't control what the doctor's going to tell us when we go to see him. We can't control when and how we are going to lose our job. We cannot control what is happening at the southern border. We cannot control so many things that happen in our lives. The conditions and the motivations of life happen. For us, it's a question of keeping that lock on tight because we are good people. And we don't want to make bad choices because we're afraid. We are good, holy people, and we don't want to make other kinds of choices because life is getting out of control, because life is becoming chaotic, because life is becoming stressful. We don't want to turn ourselves over to the anxiety that life can produce. And so we have Jesus. And sometimes we just have to go and sit at the feet of Jesus. He knows what's creating our anxiety. We don't have to talk about it. He knows what's causing our fear. We don't have to belabor it. He knows what is causing all of the stress and anxieties in our life. And all we have to do is sit at the feet of Jesus and listen to the prophet. Fill us with courage. Fill us with strength. Listen to the words of the prophet. Calm our souls. I was listening to NPR a couple of weeks ago to Barbara Ham Lee, and somebody on her show was talking about a poll that was recently done, and it was all about all of the chaos on our southern border. And the question was, do we have a responsibility to help them? Overwhelmingly, atheists and people with no religious affiliation said, yes, we do. Overwhelmingly, black Protestant churches said, yes, we do. Overwhelmingly, white evangelical churches said, no, we don't. And right there in the middle, at 50%, were Roman Catholics. That stunned me, and it shamed me. Because I think that there is always legitimate difference in what the best course of action is. But there can be no difference of whether or not action is required. To say how we meet the needs and help the people at our southern border is something that we can always disagree on. But should we help them is not open for discussion in the Catholic Church. Remember that every Sunday we come to share a Holy Communion with Jesus. We share a Holy Communion with him and his people around the world. And just listen to the words of the Eucharistic prayer. Listen to what we say in that we come united with these people. With all those people on the southern border, we come united with them to this Eucharistic table. We come united with them. And then to say that we have no obligation to help them is shameful. And I have to assume that these are probably otherwise good people, holy people, generous people, compassionate people who, under the conditions and motivations of politics and fear, make really bad choices. And so it's time, sometimes, for us to stop trying to control all of the conditions of our life and just come and sit at the feet of Jesus. Come and listen to his wisdom, listen to his strength. Come and listen to him fill us with insight. Come and let his words wash away our anxiety, our fear, our trepidation. Come to the feet of Jesus and listen to the words of the prophet. We don't have to wait until he comes again. He is here. He promised us, I am with you always until the end of time. He is here. Sometimes the problem is that we are too distracted by other things and we give in to the chaos around us. Sit at the feet of Jesus. Sit at the feet of Jesus. He is the lock that keeps us holy. He is the lock that keeps us honest. He is the lock that keeps us faithful to his commandments. Don't have to say anything. Just come. Sit at his feet and listen to the lock.